Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we're off and we are running. I'm trying to type, so that's why. All right, there we go. We are off and we are running. It's 97.7 ESPN, The Zone's Talking Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Welcome into the show on a Thursday morning. 256-576-4977. That is how you can join the program this morning. And we got a lot of fun stuff to get to. As always, though, we want your phone calls. We want your opinions on what we're going to go over as well, or anything that you have weighing on your mind. If you head to our Twitter page this morning, at 977 ESPN The Zone, at 977 ESPN, there is a Twitter question up there that we have, and we can have this throughout the morning, and you can respond via Twitter, or you can just give us a call here on the phone lines, 256-576-4977. That is, what is the most iconic play or defining play in your school's history? So if you are an Alabama fan, Auburn fan, Tennessee, any fan, I don't care, whatever school it is, what is the most iconic play or defining play in your team's history? 256-576-4977. That's a question we just threw out there today, so feel free to join the program with that if you would like. We do get you started with some SEC basketball last night. The Auburn Tigers, 16th-ranked Auburn Tigers on the road at LSU. Tigers improved to 5-1 on the year. That would be the Auburn Tigers improving to 5-1 on the year, thanks to a 67-49 win. The Tigers would lead 32-21 at the half. They outscore LSU in the second half, 35-28. They get the win last night on the road. Afterwards, here is Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl.
Road win, great balance. LSU, their back was against the wall a little bit tonight, and we knew that really needed that. We established ourselves pretty well, played pretty well early, led for most of the game. Wendell Green showed special. Jalen Williams built on what he had been doing. Al Flanagan with 7 defensive rebounds. We didn't turn it over. I thought Zeb and KD continue to play really well. How about Leo Berman? Being able to come off the bench and belong and just act like he belongs out there. He makes us a better team. He did last year. He's doing it again this year. So a really good team victory.
That's Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl. Again, if you want to hear and watch the entire Bruce Pearl press conference from last night, all you got to do is head to our YouTube page at 97.7 ESPN The Zone on our YouTube page, WZZN TV. The entire Bruce Pearl press conference is there. So you can go back and listen to Bruce Pearl's reaction to the Tigers getting a 67-49 win over LSU. We mentioned yesterday the road for the Tigers now does not get any easier. On Saturday, they do have South Carolina. They got to travel to South Carolina, but then it is Texas A&M on the road at West Virginia in the Big 12 SEC shootout, which is awesome, by the way. I'm glad they play that in January. Then they have a rematch with Georgia to kick off the calendar in February, and then it's at Tennessee, at Texas A&M, and then at home with Alabama on February 11th. So that is Auburn's next 5-6 games. And I mentioned Texas A&M in that equation. Texas A&M and Buzz Peterson are red hot right now. Now, it may not have looked like it last night in the first half against Florida, but Texas A&M gets a 54-52 win. They hold off a Gators rally last night to get a win. Texas A&M improves to 5-0 to start the year. Now, if you were looking inside the box score from last night, that thing was ugly in the first half. Ugly in the first half. Texas A&M and Florida, the score in the first half was 23-12. That's what it was at the break. Florida managed 12 points in the first half last night. 12. They did find their offense in the second half. They scored 40. But Florida scored 12 points in the first half last night against Texas A&M.
I mean,
UAH had 12 points last night after 3 minutes. Maybe no. They had 12 after about a minute and a half last night. It was because they hit a minute and a half last night. UAH had 12 points. Florida had 12 after 20 minutes. So anyway, Texas A&M gets the win last night. How about Missouri? Kobe Brown had another fantastic night. 17 points for the former Lehigh standout. Missouri dumps Arkansas 79-76. The loss there by Arkansas most certainly will have the Hogs outside of the top 25. They came into this one ranked number 25 in the country, did Arkansas. They are backpedaling right now. Arkansas now, with that loss, falls to 1-5 in SEC play. And it's now at the point where after those first couple losses, you're sitting there with Arkansas and you're like saying, okay, Eric Musselman's got a talented team. They're going to right this ship. They're going to be okay. It's just a loss here. It's a loss there. It's going to happen in SEC play, and it will. Losses will happen in SEC play because, the conference is really good. Really, really good. And losses, especially on the road, they're gonna happen because you're just going to get tripped up on the road. What Arkansas has done is they have just backpedaled. They have backpedaled bad. And it's becoming now the question is, can Eric Musselman get this turned around, or is the ship just out of control for Arkansas?
right. I mean, and looking ahead a little bit, I mean, they go up against Ole Miss next and then LSU. But once you kind of get to the later half of the season, I mean, they're going to have to really kind of turn it around at this point before they go up against Georgia, Alabama again, and then Tennessee again at the end of the year.
Yeah, it could get really out of control. All right, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the program this morning. And Evan chimes in on Twitter. He says, this Evan would be from the Auburn standpoint, telling us that in his lifetime, kick six, but then he says hard to beat the go crazy Cadillac moment for Auburn. So that would be one that Evan has chimed in this morning. And you can do so via Twitter. You can also do so via the phone lines, 256-576-4977. Again, what is the most iconic play or defining play in your school's history? Just throwing something out there this morning as we kind of recap a little basketball and kind of blend a little football in there. First thing that comes to your mind?
Alabama-wise, it's got to be 2nd and 26. I think with Tua Tagovailoa because of what was at stake, what it meant, winning a national championship. Because to me, I don't really, I think maybe the goal line stand in 1978 to win the 1979 national championship, and really it's the 78 national championship. It was played in 79, but the 78 goal line stand, Barry Krause and Murray Legg and all those guys, and then 2nd and 26 would have to be, I think, the two most iconic in Alabama history, just because, again, both of them meant national championships for Alabama. And, if you're saying just one play, the goal line stand decided the game. Alabama won it 14-7. And then, when you think about 2nd and 26, Alabama was down, 13-0 at halftime, and it trailed for much of the game. And then Tua came off the bench and hadn't played, since October against Tennessee, and in the biggest situation imaginable, and rallied Alabama when it looked like the game was basically not over, but Alabama was in very extreme trouble. And so I think 2nd and 26, and then the 78 goal line stand in the 79 Sugar Bowl was probably the two most iconic, in my opinion, for Alabama.
Yeah. All right, 256-576-4977. You can join the conversation. You can answer that question via Twitter. You can join the program here this morning as well. We were just kind of laminating the fact that Florida scores 12 points and a half last night in their loss to Texas A&M.
Still only lost by 2, 54-52. So, they scored 40 points in the second half.
Texas A&M only scored 23 in the half as well. So, they weren't burning it up as well on the offensive side.
Buzz Williams likes to control pace and tempo. Buzz and Texas A&M, they're not known for scoring a ton of points. They can score, but their identity is on the defensive end of the floor. So, a 23-12 half is not stunning for Texas A&M. And credit to Florida and Todd Golden, because I heard that they only scored 12 at the half, and I was trying to check to see what the halftime score was. I didn't find it last night over at Pinson Valley, but I did see the final score, and I was like, got to give Florida credit for getting up off the mat and making it a very, very competitive second half, and nearly winning it. Florida got off to a slow start period in conference play and has been very competitive lately, unlike Eric Walmart.
Yeah, they're flatlining. They are flatlining in a big way. 1-5 after that loss to Missouri last night.
Yeah, Kobe had 17, and
they've got some questions now. That ship is it's getting dangerously close to being just sinking and going in the wrong direction.
They need to call the Beatles and get a yellow submarine or something, because it's taking on water. And I believe they're 1-5 now.
Yeah.
They've lost to Alabama at home. They've lost to Missouri at home. They got blown out at Auburn. It's just been a really, really rough, a few weeks of conference play. A lot of people, including myself, thought they might be able to dig their way out, even though they started 1-3, because they've done that the previous 2 years. But if you listened to Eric Walmart's press conference after the Alabama game, where he basically said, this is different than the last 2 years. We've really got a lot of things to work out and fix, and it just basically sounded like to me that he wasn't nearly as optimistic that they were going to be able to turn it around as dramatically as they did, because the last 2 years they dramatically turned it around and basically finished in the top 3 in the league, and then ended up with a good seed in the NCAA tournament and ended up in the Elite Eight the last 2 years. And they came in with expectations this year in the top 10 in the country. Some people's Final Four, definitely with a shot to go back to the Elite Eight. And now the only Elite Eight they may be contending for is the NIT, because if they don't hurry up and get some conference wins. I think the league is good or really good. I don't know if the SEC is the best league in the country, though, because I will say Georgia and Mizzou are probably the two biggest surprisures.
Yeah, right now I think the Big 12, you would have to say probably the best league in the Big 12 right now.
The
Big 12 is the best league in the country probably right now.
With Jerome Tang and all those guys and the way they've improved at K-State and beating Kansas. By the way, Kansas State's best player is Keontae Johnson, who's finally cleared health-wise, and he used to be a Gator. You put him on the Gators, and Mike White's probably still got a job. He wouldn't have left. But again, K-State's really good. And the funny thing is, Baylor has really become the best program in that league, and we really hadn't talked about Baylor a lot this year at all. And I still think they're really, really solid. Kansas is Kansas. They're the defending national champs. They're ranked 2. A lot of people think they may be the best team in the country, even though they lost to K-State. Oklahoma is I think Porter Moser, they're pretty good. Now they're going to have to play Alabama later in the year, though that will be in Norman, so that'll be interesting. And the Jeff's favorite thing, the SEC Big 12 Challenge, where they're going to
it's coming up in a couple weeks.
Remember, it's always during conference play.
I can't understand why we got to play. I mean, it is going away, though. I will say that.
Yeah, it's about to be gone.
It's going to be the SEC ACC challenge here in a couple years.
Yeah, it will be. So I mean, but again, you're right, Scott. Though the Big 12 is a really good basketball league overall. Oklahoma State, they're pretty good as well. I mean, that's a league that'll probably get over half of their members in the NCAA tournament. Iowa State, I know that's not your favorite school to talk about. They're pretty good. I mean, they beat Texas the other day.
I think it's 8 of the Big 12 or 8 of the 10 Big 12. 7 of the 10 are ranked inside the top 25 right now.
You're right. They may get 7 or 8 of them because TCU's ranked. I mean, they're good. We just mentioned Texas Tech. They might get 90% of their league in. I mean, because think about it. The ACC is not great.
No.
I mean, Duke is okay. They're not, the Duke we're used to seeing. I think North Carolina is starting to get it going. And, is going to be a good team. Wake Forest is good. Clemson has come out of nowhere and, had been leading the conference. I mean, Brad Brownell's been there forever and just sort of – he's kept them very competitive. You just – going into the season, though, if you told me, well, Clemson's going to be 6-0 in the league, I mean, that's not something I would have thought. I'm not in the ACC, but I would have thought maybe North Carolina because they were preseason number 1 with all the experience they've had, but they hit some bumps in the road. I wouldn't have thought it with Duke, even though they're very talented with their recruiting class, just simply because Coach K is not there. But once again, Jimmy Larinaga, he doesn't really get enough credit at Miami. They're really good. I mean, and then they've got experience back. But, again, as far as the depth of the league, though, I think you hit it on the head with the Big 12. I mean, just about everybody in that league is pretty good.
All right, we got to get a break in. More Talking Ball when we return. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
NFL playoff season is here, and the best place to catch all of the action, all the way up until the Super Bowl, is Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Don't miss Humphrey's game day football specials, $2.75 Miller Lite, Yingling, Coors Light Pints, $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints, $4 Fireball, anytime football is on. And with live music every night, there is no better place to party downtown than Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Humphrey's, always a party, never a cover. Located online at humphreysdowntown.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve. And we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates. Residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And we are asking that question, what is the most iconic play or most... I got to remember how I worded that one, though. Anyway, 256-576-4977. That's how you can be a part of the program of the show this morning. Most iconic play or defining play in your school's history. Give us a call, 256-576-4977, or you can send us your response on Twitter at 977ESPN. The college basketball from last night, the UAH Chargers hit 21 threes last night, and in Coach Shulman's words at halftime, they played pissed off.
Yeah.
And they did.
Well, I mean, we could
99-69, the victory last night over Montevallo.
When we talked to Coach yesterday morning, he I think you could kind of tell he had an edge to him, and well, it was twofold. I mean, as you said, he was not happy at all with dropping that game to Auburn Montgomery, even though, as he told us, and you looked at the metrics and the stats, UAH did not play terribly. They just did not win the game, did not finish it. And defensively had some issues, and he remembered the game back in November, losing on the road to Montevallo and giving up all the threes and 89 points and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of felt like that this was a very important game for UAH to get back home, to get a conference win. And Montevallo is playing completely different from the standpoint of pressing all over the court, and they were coming off of a loss to West Georgia, and they're still great friends, but it is a rival. If you go back and look at the Gulf South Conference history, and even when Montevallo moved to the Peach Belt and then came back, it's always been a rivalry, and so it was big for UAH to come out and play that well, and now they just need to build on it and stack some W's, and because this is, as Coach kind of referenced, the beginning of a stretch run toward postseason play, toward trying to win a regular season championship, and also position yourself for a home game before as the conference tournament starts. As we know, the way the GSC tournament is drawn up, you want to be at home. And then you want to get to Samford to play. So in the semifinals and then championship. So it's important. And this is an experienced UAH team. This is an older team. And I think, that he wanted to see them respond in the right way. And when you make 21 threes, you scored 99 points, and they still held Montevallo in the 60s. So, they played a really nice game.
Yeah, they did. And They didn't let Montevallo have a lot of air last night, and then that was the good thing. This one was over. This one was over about midway through the half. I mean, UAH.
It sounded a little bit like Alabama LSU, where the game's over in the first 10 minutes.
Montevallo came out and put some pressure on UAH, and UAH had open shots. I mean, Montevallo wasn't. They did not play defense, and UAH basically was a shooting drill for the Chargers there in the first half. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines. You can get in this morning. Wolverine Dan with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Well, good morning. All right. So I'm going to go with a couple negative ones for Michigan. And I'm going to do that because I want to see now, Judy, I want to see how many Bama fans or Auburn fans call in and say anything about maybe a negative play that changed the outcome of the game. And I'm a true fan of my team. I'm going to give you the good, and I'm going to give you the bad. So I'm curious, Drew, what's the odds of how many Bama fans or Auburn fans are going to give the bad takes?
Well, I mean, Scott asked for iconic. When you talk about iconic, that's usually a game-deciding play to me. I mean, that's just if it's a defining game. It's usually, and if you're talking about an iconic moment, it's almost kind of like if you're equating it to the NFL, Dwight Clark and Joe Montana. Something like that, where something positive happens, and it's something that pops into your head as a fan of said team that decided a game that you always remember. It's why Daniel Moore is rich. Okay, I mean, defining moments are like look at that. That's the majority of his works with Alabama.
You maybe you weren't. Well, it's defining either if it goes good or bad. But the other team that maybe did something that beat your team was good for them. So indirectly, it's going to be good for either team eventually. I mean, depending on which one favored from the outcome of it. But it wasn't worded that way. So I'm going to give you a couple things that people will remember, even though you're not a Michigan fan. Appalachian State.
Yeah, that's an iconic play in Appalachian history. But in Michigan, you're talking about the blocked field goal. Yeah, it's not. It's not one to remember.
All right, and the other one, two are not to remember, and I'll give you one to remember.
Yeah.
The other one would be the Michigan State block punt.
Yeah, no, that's an iconic moment for Michigan State. Yeah. Michigan State fans to remember. That was crazy. I actually accidentally saw that live. I was just turning the channel, and I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, okay, all Michigan has to do is get the punt off, and then disaster.
Now, the other one was, I believe we played University of Colorado when they scored with that last second.
Oh, yeah, Cordell.
Yeah, Hail Mary play.
Michael Westbrook and Cordell. Yeah, 70 yards.
And, I mean, Bama's got those things against them, too, and so does Auburn. But I want to hear the true fans that call in and say the good and the bad, because that's part of football. You remember the losses, and you try to forget them, but you sure do remember the wins, and you always try to remember them. Now, the good thing, I do remember this, and I think he started this, guys, is the Heisman pose.
Yeah. Desmond Howard, yeah.
He started that, all right? So every time I see that, anybody does that pose, Desmond started it, and he became a Heisman Trophy winner, of course.
Yeah.
But, I thought that's a good perspective that I brought this to the forefront on your show. Just, it works both ways, Drew. You know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly with Alabama, if you want to talk about in moments that they want to forget, the young man on Twitter that chimed in, an Auburn fan, the kick six, that's a moment. And if you're an Alabama fan, that's a negative because that decided that Iron Bowl. Right. And then Auburn went on to play for a national championship, and it cost Alabama a chance to play for an SEC and potentially a national title. And then they've lost 2 games in the last play, and then the game against Clemson, the pick play, which I mean, again, it is what it is. Hunter Renfrow. That's why Alabama fans, when they talk about Hunter Renfrow, they want to throw up because Hunter Renfrow decided that game.
All right, Wolverine Dan, hate to do it to you, bud, but we are up against a break. We got to get this break in real fast. More Talking Ball when we return. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Overall, a really nice afternoon across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. It'll be just a touch on the breezy end of the spectrum, but we can deal with that. Partly sunny sky, temperatures climbing into the mid-60s, dropping into the mid-upper 30s as we head into the overnight. More cloud cover as we head into your Friday. We're going to start the day with a fair amount of sunshine. It's also going to be much cooler on Friday. Temperatures only climbing into the low and mid-50s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is an Alabama legacy moment.
The famous goal line stand, one of the most celebrated moments in Alabama sports history. The Tide was leading the 1979 Sugar Bowl when Penn State moved the ball to within 10 inches of the goal line. Barry Krause and Marty Lyons leaped over the pile to stop Nittany Lions running back Mike Gooman and preserve the Tide's victory. The win handed Coach Paul Bear Bryant his 5th national championship.
Sponsored by the Alabama Bicentennial Commission, the ABA, and this station.
This is an Alabama legacy moment.
Olympian Jesse Owens dominated the 1936 Olympics with 4 track and field gold medals in the 100-meter dash, the 200-meter dash, the long jump, and the 4x100-meter relay. The Lawrence County native dominated track and field from a young age, while in college at the Big Ten Championships, Owens set 3 world records and tied a 4th in less than 1 hour. Owens is widely remembered as the nation's greatest Olympian.
Sponsored by the Alabama Bicentennial Commission, the ABA, and this station.
By now, we all know about the opioid crisis in America, but did you know there is another answer to pain management? CBD oil. And not all CBD oil is the same. The CBD formula provided by Physician's Choice is safe, legal, and most of all, effective. And we have a special offer. Visit PCCBD.com today, and at checkout, use the coupon code BAMA for 20% off your entire purchase. That's PCCBD.com, coupon code BAMA, and get the relief you deserve now. By now, we all know about the opioid crisis in America, but did you know there is another answer to pain management? CBD oil. And not all CBD oil is the same. The CBD formula provided by Physician's Choice is safe, legal, and most of all, effective. And we have a special offer. Visit PCCBD.com today, and at checkout, use the coupon code BAMA for 20% off your entire purchase. That's PCCBD.com, coupon code BAMA, and get the relief you deserve now.
And now, a man who knows what you ate for breakfast.
Time now for the biggest thinker of them all.
He knows it all. He is Drew DeArmond. Listen to Drew and Scott Tyson weekday mornings. It's Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
We are back. 25657649777. You can join the program here towards the end of the first hour, but now we need to focus our attention yesterday during the show.
Yep.
The Ole Miss Rebels picking up another quarterback. What does it signal? Does it mean they have faith in the quarterback they have, or does it mean that they're just adding another piece because you can never have too many quarterbacks in that quarterback room? Or are we just overanalyzing the fact that Ole Miss picked up a quarterback?
Well, I mean, it's just Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, it kind of reminds me of John Gruden, and what I mean by that is he likes to collect quarterbacks. I don't think he's ever satisfied with his roster, especially in this portal era. And he's been one that's been unafraid to tell you about the free agency aspect and transforming your football team. And he's certainly put an emphasis on the portal since arriving at Ole Miss. And, time kind of flies. He's already been through 3 years with the Rebels, and he's having to revamp his coaching staff, especially defensively, because I don't think he was satisfied with the way they finished the year, certainly. And then that may be also the reason behind adding a Walker Howard, and we're going to talk about that with our next guest. He does an outstanding job covering the Ole Miss Rebels for 24/7 Sports. We've had him many times as he has done a great job with us. And then, of course, you can connect with him at olemiss.247sports.com with Inside the Rebels, and that is David Johnson from Rebels 247. How are you, sir?
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
We're good. And David, I always listen to your podcast. I read your work because I think you're as well connected as anyone with Ole Miss. What does the Walker Howard addition signal? Because we know Luke Altmaier went to Illinois. We talked about that yesterday on the show. We know Jackson Dart had a solid first-year starter. But is Lane satisfied with that, or is this more of a move for a quarterback of the future? What does this mean?
Yeah, I don't know that we know the full picture yet, because I honestly don't think Lane Kiffin's through getting transfer portal quarterbacks
wow.
in this class right now.
Wow.
You know, there's a strong vibe here that he's going to be adding a 4-year Power 5 starter to this roster in Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders.
I knew we knew he'd been recruiting, and we wondered what that would mean, because I guess we're all thinking when he hadn't committed to Ole Miss and they take Walker Howard, that that's the direction Ole Miss is going. But you're telling us that he may add both of these guys.
Yes,
Oof.
absolutely. That is that's the word that we're all getting over here in Oxford, is that Spencer Sanders is likely to join. And then you've got to look at it from a potential 3 quarterback situation. There's no doubt in my mind, if you just want to take Walker Howard in a capsule and deal with what's reality right now, Walker Howard can push Jackson Dart. I don't think Lane Kiffin brings him in here to not be able to push Jackson Dart. Hands down, no questions asked, if Spencer Sanders comes to Ole Miss, he's going to push Jackson Dart. And, why would Sanders come to Ole Miss to toe the clipboard?
Yeah,
That's what I keep asking myself. He's got 1 year left to play.
Right.
He's not coming here to be anybody's backup. That's not on his mind. And, it's really a little bit of a wacky situation, but, it's kind of Lane Kiffin in the pro mindset.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the best guy on the field to help us win ball games. And I think that's what we're seeing play out here. I don't know that players necessarily are building equity in the program, that they can keep putting on the table.
Is this any kind of a reaction to this past year? I mean, maybe Lane Kiffin not happy with the offensive production, the performance, or is he just simply trying to go out and get the best guys he can get through the portal?
You know what? I think it's that. I think Lane is just going out and trying to get the best players he can, and he's really not concerned about whose feelings he hurts or maybe whose toes he steps on. He's going to get the best ball players to help Ole Miss win football games, which is why Ole Miss is paying him the big bucks now. And, so he's doing his job, and, it's just kind of the nature of the beast in this day and age. You better win. You better win now, or you're not going to get those big paychecks. And, it affects everybody in your program if that happens. I do think when you're looking at the Ole Miss quarterback situation at this moment, now we could be wrong. Everything we're hearing could be wrong, and Spencer Sanders ends up somewhere else. But we don't think that's the case. And, so when you're looking at the quarterback situation, you got to look at it, I really think, as a potential 3-horse race. And I do think it'll be a race, but you don't bring in a former 5-star recruit and a 4-year Power 5 starter if you're not looking for somebody to push your guy. And Jackson Dart's going to get pushed.
Yeah, and we're talking to David Johnson, Rebels 24/7, and David, obviously, if they decide to get Spencer Sanders, I would think that's going to happen. Before spring practice, right? They're going to try to get him in here, and so he can go through and compete, coming up in March.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it happens before Monday.
Yeah.
Monday's the last day classes start at Ole Miss on Monday. So, lo and behold, these guys still have to go to school in this NIL era.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to happen quickly. And you see the Ole Miss coaches, they've been tweeting out fishing rods and fishes, and fishes is even a word, and telling you, keep your eye on things for the next 48 hours. Well, they've gotten 3 commits now since Tuesday night. Vic Kearney from Washington, the offensive lineman. Walker Howard, of course, and then a walk-on kid last night named Jackson Jones. But, that's the cake. It's time to ice it, right? And everybody's got their eyes out there waiting to see, who the next guy in is.
Well, I mean, Lane Kiffin going through the offensive side, but the defensive side has always been the question that surrounds Lane Kiffin. I mean, we know he can call plays. We know he can put offensive guys on there. But how is he trying to reshape this defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it all starts with Pete Golding, right?
There you go.
Alabama defensive coordinator. And, Pete is I've known Pete for a long time. I had the good fortune, I guess, of covering Pete when he was a player at Delta State over here in Mississippi. And, he's a great fit. He's a great personality fit. Ole Miss fans already love him. Respect what he did at Alabama. I know Alabama fans might not, but Ole Miss fans really respected what Pete did for the Crimson Tide, how much faith Nick Saban had in him. And, man, it all starts with him. And, we're glad he's back. And, let's see what Pete Golding can do to the Ole Miss defense.
Well, yeah, and then as we know, he heavily recruited Sunterrain Perkins for Alabama, tried to flip him. Now he gets to coach him because just watching the kid, and I know he's been rocketing up the re-ranking charts. He's a 5-star now and should be. I mean, I think he was far and away the best player in Mississippi.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about this class. Sunterrain Perkins, ought to come to Oxford and be ready to make an impact. There are certainly holes in that defense that he can help them plug, whether it's at linebacker, whether it's a hybrid position, somewhere on that defense. But he gets around on the field. He arrives at the ball carrier very, very angry, got a nose for the football and the big play. I can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, and we're also very excited. There's another connection for us here personally, too, with the Ole Miss defensive staff. Wesley Neighbors has been announced as the safeties coach. There's no one that knows that scheme, what they're probably going to do, what Pete is going to do defensively better than Wesley. One of the better young coaches in the country, a really good young recruiter and coach. He did a great job at Maryland. Talk about kind of where he fits and this defensive staff. Is Lane done with the defensive staff, or where are those pieces now fitting?
Yeah, there are a few more spots. He's got to hire a cornerbacks coach.
Right.
I would expect that'll happen today or tomorrow. I'm assuming, and we haven't heard yet, that Pete will probably coach linebackers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're just kind of waiting. But Wes Neighbors, what a big hire.
Yes.
I mean, an Alabama legacy name. And they're another connection to Alabama. And, I think Wes has 5 national championship rings, right?
He does.
That's pretty doggone impressive right there in itself. I remember him when he was playing at Alabama, and of course his dad and his granddad, and just good football man, and another guy that Ole Miss is proud to have on the staff, and you better lock him up in Tuscaloosa because Lane is he's got his fishing rod over there. He's trying to get everybody he can.
Yeah, he's trying to get some.
What's he doing on the high school level, though? I mean, because I think it's great. I mean, it's one thing to get transfer portal kids and live through that, but I mean, we don't know yet if it's sustainable in college football yet because it really hasn't been around that long. But is he also trying to hit the high school ranks?
Yeah, Ole Miss, they only signed 12 out of the high schools in December, and but it was a quality class. I mean, you mentioned Sunterrain Perkins; he was certainly at the top of that class. But 12, and I think that was the fewest in the SEC. So we knew he was going to go heavy in the portal. But you said something key there: the sustainability of portal recruiting has not been proven. Lane got the moniker, last year of Portal King. Brought in the nation's number 2 recruiting class. Well, the only sample size we have is going, okay, number 2 recruiting class translated to an 8-5 season. And then the number 1 recruiting class at USC translated to getting your butt beat by Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. So, I don't think the portal recruiting we don't have a large enough sample size yet to know that, is Ole Miss doing it right or is Georgia and Alabama doing it right? I don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't, but I know they still got another kid out of Moss Point, Jamarius Brown, who I really like a lot. Aiden Williams, the wide receiver as well. So they got some good players within their state, and that's one of the things. You still got to control your state, and certainly Ole Miss did a nice job of that. And but David, as we kind of wrap it up with you, I know you mentioned the cornerbacks coach could be announced today. And the portal closed yesterday. Besides Sanders, is there another maybe name to watch? Maybe Ole Miss could bring in.
Yeah, I think Louisville linebacker Monty Montgomery. He got to Oxford last night. I think he woke up here this morning. He'll be going to West Virginia a little bit later today to take another visit. I think you watch him. I think you also watch Deshaun Gaddy, a defensive back out of North Texas. Visited a couple days ago. And I think both of those could pop as well. I got to throw this in there because I'm talking to I'm across state lines in Alabama.
Oh.
Maybe there's another Quinshawn Judkins in this class somewhere that Nick Saban and Auburn decided not to offer. But you never know, right? You never know when the 3-star is going to be the 6-star.
Well, I'll give you full credit. I have throughout the whole season. You're the one that told us about Quinshawn Judkins. And, I saw him in high school. I thought he was good, but you were the first one to tell us, look, with what we've seen in practice, they've let us attend. He is going to be the real deal, and he certainly was. He was probably the best freshman running back in the country.
No doubt about it. So we thank Pike Road, Alabama, for Quinshawn Judkins for sure.
No doubt. Well, David, thanks for joining us, and let everybody know how to connect with your work, my friend.
Yeah, guys, I'm on Inside the Rebels. It's OleMiss.247sports.com, and follow me on Twitter at Rebels247. Guys, thank you for having me on.
Thanks, David.
Appreciate it.
Let's get a break in. More Talking Ball. Wrap up hour 1 when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com. There's nothing like celebrating the holidays with family and friends, and there's no better way to do that than to celebrate at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. And if you haven't tried our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness, then head on down and try one of Bad Daddy's award-winning burgers now. And you can pair them with one of our signature cocktails or a cold draft beer from our huge selection. Make your holidays extra merry with a trip to Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway between Bob Wallace and Governors. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again proud to be a sponsor of All Things Football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected. If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com. The Huntsville Sports Commission is responsible for bringing high-level sports entertainment to the Rocket City. In 2023, enjoy events like the CCSA Beach Volleyball Championships, Hometown Lenders Championship, UCI Paracycling Road World Cup, and so much more. To learn more about upcoming events and the Huntsville Sports Commission, visit huntsvillesports.com. The Huntsville Sports Commission. We do sports.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing: helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. 256-576-4977. Now's a good time for you to join the program if you would so like to. And we did have that question up there from hour number one still. Most iconic or defining play in your team's history. 256-576-4977. And so the news around the Michigan program, not good right now. The NCAA, remember, investigating or sent out their infractions case against Michigan, level 1, level 2 cases. And the level 1 was that Jim Harbaugh lied to investigators. That was where we were at. Well, the NCAA and Michigan have been kind of in a resolution talk, and the talks have broke down because Harbaugh has acknowledged, according to sources, that the program committed 4 level 2 violations. They've acknowledged that. He's apologized to the university that it occurred. However, he has refused to sign any document or publicly state that he was ever untruthful with the enforcement staff. And so the impasse, they are at an impasse now, the NCAA and Michigan. So I don't know where this one will go from here. But the NCAA and Harbaugh, they've had meetings, and Harbaugh has refused to back down from their position, and Michigan, and the NCAA has refused to back down. The NCAA says the coach lied. The coach says he didn't lie.
The coach will win. NCAA is toothless. When's the NCAA ever done anything? They haven't. They're not doing anything so far. They've been reactive with NIL. They've been, they lag behind with everything. What did they do to Western Union? Not much. I mean, he ended up finally getting fired for cause when they got rid of him. But LSU, like basketball-wise, I don't think they're going to be hit hard with sanctions.
He doesn't have any show cause or anything, does he?
As far as I know, they haven't announced anything. And then, look, I mean, that's why I don't think they can do much to Jeremy Pruitt either, especially now in the NIL era. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, everybody's I make fun of Eric Walmart, but again, everybody is able to. It's the Wild Wild West right now. Nothing's illegal. So how are you going to go back and sanction someone when there's really no rules? I mean, when you can pay players, I just don't see how there's going to be anything done to slam Michigan's football program.
So if Jim Harbaugh just stays course, stays what? I'll
be honest, I don't know a lot of the details about that situation. But again, it's almost like Arizona State too. I mean, what's going to happen is some of these coaches are going to get fired, like Will Wade, like Herman Edwards, all these dudes, and they may not get paid because, again, these universities can now fire you with cause. It's almost better for the universities. They don't have to pay these humongous buyouts. So y'all better be glad that, as fate would have it, he got fired, basically just at the very beginning of the NIL era so he could get some money and go away. And, but of course, he gave them a 2019 national title, a Heisman Trophy with Joe Burrow, and he's from South Louisiana, so they're probably just throwing him a bone. But again, He's just one of those things where I think some coaches are going to get canned, and they're not going to have to. They're not going to get some of these huge buyouts because they'll be able to quote unquote fire you for cause. But let's put it this way: Jim Harbaugh has been to 2 straight playoffs. Now, did they absolutely gag against TCU? Yes, they did, because I think they should have won that game. And I think they were the better football team. If they played 10 times, I think they'd win 8. But again, he's made 2 straight playoffs, and he's whacked Ohio State twice in a row.
Right.
And what did they just make a big deal out of? The Michigan president just made a huge deal out of Coach Harbaugh is not going to the NFL because he's kind of flirted the last 2 years. He's coming back.
And it was the president. That's what makes that interesting. Harbaugh tells the president that
the president doesn't give a rat's what about this NCAA case. All he cares about is Jim Harbaugh is coming back. And so, again, I don't expect there to be some kind of severe sanctions. Probably the worst case scenario is the NC Double-Dum like suspends him for the first 2 games against 2 tomato cans, and then he's back for Big Ten play or whatnot.
Do you think that's why maybe we haven't heard any fire from an Alabama defensive coordinator standpoint, because you think Alabama, is doing that homework on Jeremy Pruitt, and
I think so.
They're just it's a matter of time before we find out if he can come back. Because if he can come back, he's going to get hired. We believe.
Look, they allowed Hugh Freeze back in the SEC. Bo Davis will be back in the league when Texas comes to lose. Look, you pay the fine. Jeremy's been out of it the last 2 years, but for what he's accused of, I think most of it's just trumped up stuff from Fatimus Maximus, and so I just think that he deserves to be back in the game, especially in the NIL era. I don't get it. It's not like he's done something dastardly. He was. If you look at what he's accused of, and I don't even think most of it's true, it was trying to help out families and prospects. It wasn't, anything just obscene. It wasn't anything personally bad.
Right.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Philip Fulmer did much worse during his coaching career because he's a lying sack of trash. He stabbed Johnny Majors in the back to get the job. He cheated while he was at Tennessee. This was pre-NIL. He was cheating his butt off, and he still couldn't beat, Steve Spurrier. And then once Alabama hired Nick Saban, his career was effectively over, except for one disastrous tenure as the athletic director at Tennessee, where he's now been fired as head coach, and he's been fired at Tennessee as athletic director, and he's still held in high esteem because he had a horseshoe up his butt and won one national championship.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Vols fans still love Philip Fulmer.
Their iconic plays Peerless Price against Florida State. Of course, what they failed to mention is if Chris Weinke had actually been healthy, they never would have won the game, but that's another story for another day. And if, of course, there wasn't a choke from Arkansas and Clint Sterner, it was over then, too.
Yeah, that could be an iconic play, too, though.
That's another iconic. Two in one season.
For Tennessee.
And then for Arkansas, it's stick your head in the toilet.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. The best way to start betting smarter is to sign up for a free VSiN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe.
College basketball in the Sun Belt, Troy at home tonight against James Madison. This game a pick'em, the over-under 142. NFL divisional playoffs, Jaguars an 8.5-point underdog at the Chiefs Saturday. Eagles minus 7.5 at home against the Giants. Sunday the Bengals plus 5.5 at Buffalo, and the Cowboys a 4-point dog at San Francisco. UFC 283 features 2 championship bouts on Saturday. The main event, the light heavyweight title fight between Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira. Hill currently a minus 135 favorite. Teixeira at plus 115. For the flyweight title, Davison Figueiredo, the defending champ, a plus 100 underdog against Brandon Moreno at minus 120.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. It's hour 2 of Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. 256-576-4977. That's how you can be a part of the program this morning. And last night, Sam Pittman going through his Rolodex because Sam Pittman needs an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, they lost. He's now lost both his coordinator.
Yeah, because Kendall Briles departing for TCU.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's replacing, Graham Riley, who Garrett Riley, pardon me. Garrett Riley goes to Clemson, leaves at TCU, and Garrett Riley won the Broyles Award as the top assistant in the country, and was a big reason they made the college football playoff, Garrett Riley, and a big reason why they beat Michigan. But, yeah, I mean, Kendall Briles, and it's funny. Last year, Pittman was able to ward off suitors for Barry Odom and Kendall Briles. This year, he loses them both. Barry Odom deciding to roll the dice, literally, and go to Vegas and be the UNLV head football coach. And then
that's just I'm sorry, but that is a disaster because UNLV is a program that just.
I mean, it's tough. Randall
it's
Cunningham
where you go to die.
Randall Cunningham ain't walking through that door. So Barry Odom going to take a head coaching job, and then Kendall Briles, who he's flirted with schools now. He flirted with some last year, and remember when we had Jake Wimberly on, he flirted with Mississippi State and decided not to go after the just tragedy with Mike Leach, and when Zach Arnett was named head coach, I think his number one target was Kendall Briles. He turned that down, but now he goes to TCU and leaves Arkansas. And now, but here's the interesting part. Arkansas is going back to the future. We just talked about Jeremy Pruitt potentially coming back to Alabama, Scott.
Right.
Now Arkansas is hiring an OC that Burt hired, and it was very successful for Burt, and that is Dan Enos.
I still get over the fact that we call him Burt.
But, I mean, seriously, that's interesting because...
Yeah, Dan Enos has been around a little bit.
He has, and Maryland's losing a lot of coaches. Like, they went 8-5, but they're losing Wesley Neighbors. They're losing, Dan Enos. They
returned their quarterback, though. Talia is coming back for another year, but now he lost his offensive coordinator. I'm wondering if if Dan Enos would have left before Talia made that decision.
Right.
Now, would Talia have stayed in school knowing that you're going to lose your offensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. And Talia's had a good career. I feel kind of vindicated there because there were some that doubted him, especially when he left Alabama. But I watched him in high school. I thought he was a good player. He set every passing record at Maryland. I'm not sure he's a pro, but he's a really good, solid college quarterback. He's won games at Maryland. I thought he made a sound decision in coming back because I don't think he would have been a high draft pick. But again, very good college player and has had a good run under Coach Loxley. And this kind of reminds me what Lox is going through is what Lane Kiffin went through last year too. Lane had a really good year, won double-digit games, got to the Sugar Bowl, and then his coaching staff got gutted, got a lot of guys hired away, and so he had to retool. But now Lane didn't finish strong this year and is retooling his defensive staff. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what Coach Locks does. But congrats to Wesley Neighbors moving to Ole Miss. Now Dan Enos coming back to the SEC to Arkansas. And so these all these dominoes keep falling. And Alabama's got several, I think, to put in place.
Well, in the last 2 years, you mentioned Talia.
Yeah.
His last 2 years at Maryland, 2 full seasons. 6,868 yards to go along with 44 touchdowns and 19 interceptions.
Yeah.
So, all right, 256-576-4977. That's, you can be a part of the program. Brandon's with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
What's up?
Good morning. I feel like of the defensive coordinators that were at Delta State, we got I guess you could say, like John Fox said, we got Chris Winkie and somebody else got Dave Aranda. So I wish we'd have kind of ended up on the other end of that one.
Yeah.
Y'all are talking about iconic plays.
Yeah.
My 1A is the goal line stand.
Yeah. That's the one I mentioned, yeah.
That's the one you got to earn. I know threw that ball, and I about through the coffee table, through the picture window when he done it. And my wife was like, y'all win everything. I hate this. I'm going to bed. But that was a busted coverage.
Yeah.
I love it, but it was busted. But my 1A has got to be what the man from Foley High School does. And you got to be a real Alabama fan to appreciate it. The 67 Iron Bowl, the run in the mud, 3rd and 3, and he just tears ass down the field for 47 yards. He had dropped back 5 times, I think, in that game, and maybe had completed like 3 passes. That was a football game. It was the first night game, best I remember, in the Iron Bowl series, and man, did it rain.
It was awful,
day.
yeah.
I watched that a couple times on YouTube when I've been flying back and forth, and that was a game for Alabama fans to remember. They had just won the national championship the year before, and I think we had we tied Florida State in the opener that year, and we didn't win the championship that year. But it was that was a heck of a football game. That was a fight to play in those conditions and win a football game like that the way he did on a big run like that at the very end. I love it. I just love the Snake.
Oh yeah, the Snake was an iconic football player. It took too long, and I hated that it was posthumously, but he's in the Hall of Fame, in the NFL Hall of Fame, and he was a great quarterback for the Raiders. And and the funny thing is, they were really good in '67, but they did not. They couldn't because they've been so dominant and winning it in '61. Really good in 62, 63, winning it in 64, 65, and then really should have won it in 66. Still really good in 67. But then we saw the 3 years where Coach Bryant, it got a little rough, went, 6-5 and 500 records before he made the iconic switch to the to the wishbone in 1971. And that's another one, Scott, as far as it's not really a play that's iconic, but it was an iconic shift. Because and you could say it was an iconic win when they ambushed USC, in 1971 when they came out in the Coliseum and had really back in those days nobody watched spring practice. There wasn't the media coverage there is now.
Oh yeah, not even close.
And they even came out and warmed up in the old offense. And they didn't come out until after the kickoff and ambush USC, which had not practiced for the wishbone the entire time, and win it 17-10. So that was another iconic moment. Maybe not play, but still.
I think that's a moment. I mean, that's something there that that's almost college football-esque.
Yes.
Iconic moment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not just Alabama. I mean that goes.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things tied in just to that moment there.
Yeah, and really for the rest of Coach Bryant's career.
Yeah.
From 71 through 82, they ran the wishbone. Yeah.
It's more of a. I mean, that's a yeah.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
And how does Dan Enos keep getting jobs? I hit my guy John Michaels on Twitter this morning.
Uh-oh. I know John Michaels is thrilled with that.
Oh, yeah. And I asked him, I said, is Bad Ty Golding related to Pete Golding? I was like, is it possible that awfulness is all in the family?
Well,
he texted me and said he appreciated that.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Enos had a disaster at Miami. There's no doubt about that.
It's amazing these guys they continue to get jobs.
Yep. All right, Brandon. Thanks for the phone call, bud.
Thank you.
Now, Brandon throwing out some good stuff there. I mean,
that's
going down. All right, Don is with us this morning. Good morning, Don.
Morning.
Morning, Drew. How y'all doing this morning?
Good. Sir.
Question for you real quick. I'll make a comment on the guy talking about Stabler.
Mm-hmm.
People don't remember how tremendous of an athlete that guy was.
Oh, he was a great baseball player, too, yeah.
Yeah, he actually gave Don Sutton, a Hall of Fame pitcher, his only loss in high school.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's another great tidbit there.
And he also averaged 29 points a game in basketball.
Wow.
29, wow.
No three-point line.
Yeah, keep in mind, that would not be a three-point line in that one, so that's impressive.
He was a tremendous – but that's not the reason I called. Drew, I was headed back to the Vanderbilt game 2 nights ago, and somebody made a comment that I thought was really interesting. This was the national show. It was after the game. Alabama post-game had gone. And guy made a comment about how a lot of these NIL teams, I'm kind of thinking he may have been thinking for Arkansas as one of them, were not doing very well, or at least not living up to expectations. I wonder what your comments would be on that.
Yeah, Arkansas would be one of them.
I mean, they'd have to be. They got to be on the short list. They were a top 10 team. Of course, Nick Smith was expected to play. He's with Clutch Sports in California because he can't stand Musselman. Just go ahead and say it. He doesn't. And I mean, maybe he comes back. They definitely need him to if they're going to salvage this season. Because, I mean, like I was telling Scott this morning, they are rapidly falling off the map. I mean, they are ranked in the top 25 for a couple more days, but that's definitely going to be over. But you look at it, I was just looking at Texas Tech. Scott brought up the Big 12 and maybe getting 7 or 8 teams out of that league because they're so deep and so good. But they've flown under the radar for me. But you look at Texas Tech, they're 0-6 in the league, and they have been a perennial NCAA tournament team. Bob Huggins' West Virginia team, they're 1-5, so that's 2 disappointments in the Big 12. I mean, no question about it. So I don't know. But I think Arkansas. Scott's right. Arkansas is on the short list of very disappointing teams that have not lived up to expectations. And to a degree, I guess Duke, but they're still, I think, a solid NCAA tournament team. It's just kind of the standard they set with Mike Krzyzewski, and again, but when a guy like that retires, there's going to be some sort of transition. And I was just looking at Mike Bray.
Right.
He's been at Notre Dame forever. They're 1-7 in the ACC, and they're 9-10 overall. And Notre Dame's not really known for making a ton of changes as far as they're a very patient administration. It's going to be interesting, though, with Coach Bray because this has kind of been a trend for the last 4 or 5 years where Notre Dame has not been as good.
Right.
And not been making deep tournament runs. So I would say Notre Dame, even though I don't know that they came into the season with top 25 expectations, but they also, I don't think, expected to be 1-7 in the freaking conference.
No.
I'm gonna ask you one more question and then hang up and listen to what you got to say. I look at these bracket projections.
Yeah.
And all these guys like Leonardi, they're in love with the Big Ten. But yet, once tournament time comes, they may put 8 or 9 teams in. By the end of the first weekend, there are only 2 or 3 of them left.
Yeah, they were in love with the Big Ten last year, remember? I mean, everybody was convinced that the Big Ten, even 2 years ago, the Big Ten was the best conference
in the regular season.
In the regular
season.
And
they may have been, but but in the postseason they haven't been. And we've already talked about this, Scott. Like, it's been since 2000, Michigan State. that they've had a national champion. Now, they've had Michigan play for it a couple times, and they came close. They've had teams come close to winning it, but they haven't won a national championship in a long time. And so I don't know. I mean, I still think the Big Ten's a really good league, but I don't know that they have a Final Four level or national championship contender. We will certainly see, but I would tend to agree. I think they overrate the Big Ten at times, and I would agree with Scott, though. I think when you look at the top 6 or 7, the Big 12 would probably have to be your top league.
They have 6 inside the top 25 right now. Does the Big 12?
Yeah, over half their conference.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. All right, let's get that break in. When we come back, and continue talking ball. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold-certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Steve Moulton here with Carrie Rosenblum from Rosenblum Realty. Carrie, for those looking to get their home on the market, what do they need to do?
Well, certainly give us a call, Steve. But what we'll do is come out, look at your home, but also give you, more importantly, what the market is doing about the value of your home, what it's going to bring, again, what the process is going to be to get you to eventually a closing table so you have real money to reinvest or do something else with. So that's very important to know you get to a closing table with no surprises. Call us at 256-539-9501 or rosenblumrealty.com.
Mark and Henry McDaniel, attorneys at law, are proud alumni of Madison Academy, and Madison Academy is proud of them. They have served our community through their practice, through volunteerism and service on national, state, and local boards. They explain the complexity of critical court rulings on local media. Their successful practice has been built on integrity. Both are veterans of MA Athletics and proud sponsors of Mustang football. McDaniel and McDaniel, attorneys at law. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by the lawyer.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out, or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You can be a part of the program this morning. Most iconic or memorable play from your team This is the question that we have out there this morning. Most iconic or defining play from your team. And it can be anything along the way. And mine was very simple, and I did not want to say anything when Wolverine Dan was on the phone. But 1985, Rob Houtland, it was number 1 Iowa, number 2 Michigan.
This is when Chuck Long almost won the Heisman.
Yep, and it was in Kinnick Stadium. It was a torrential downpour pretty much the whole entire game. I mean, it was just stormy, bad weather type of game, and Rob Houtland kicks a field goal in the last second, literally the last second, to win the ball game inside Kinnick Stadium. And for me, I remember that because Iowa, it wasn't until a few years ago that they actually put lights in the stadium.
Oh, boy.
Did not have lights, and so they had to bring in the portable lights, and you see the cranes holding the lights, and the goalposts at that time, 1985, the goalposts were wide.
Yeah,
they
weren't
like they are now. They weren't shrunk in and everything. And
Back to the Future.
It was on AstroTurf. And so the AstroTurf, you can just see the water sitting on top of the AstroTurf because it didn't drain. But anyway, 1985, that was my iconic moment. I still remember that and still go back and watch it every now and then.
Well, I mean, Brandon sent you some videotapes. He probably had it on there.
It did.
Yeah. And
the Big Ten Network, obviously, you know, they did those remembrance pieces and stuff on that game and everything like that. So that was honestly, I mean, you go back in time of Iowa football, and that was probably one of the biggest, probably still one of the biggest moments in Iowa football history.
And people forget, and I think it's now been surpassed as far as there's been a couple of them that were even closer, Heisman races. But even as great as Bo Jackson was, and he was iconic and great, that Heisman race with Chuck Long was really close, man. I mean, Bo just barely edged him out.
I remember as a kid thinking, oh my gosh, why did Chuck Long not win this Heisman?
Yeah.
How could he not have won the Heisman trophy?
Right.
I mean, here's this quarterback that you grow up idolizing and loving and watching as a kid. You go out in your backyard and everybody's playing flag football or whatever, and everybody wants to beat Chuck Long in the backyard and everything, and you're like, oh my goodness. And then Bo Jackson wins the Heisman, and you're thinking, God darn, And then I come down here in 99. I come down here, and I start covering Auburn and Alabama.
Right.
And now I sit here and say, how did that race even be that close?
Well, I'll be honest.
Because you didn't have regional cable.
No, you didn't
have all
That's what I'm
these
saying.
games on.
I'll be honest. I remember following the Heisman race back then, and I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And everybody knew who Bo was because he was a senior, and he'd had such an impact on Auburn football, and the pendulum had started to shift to Auburn, and everybody knew going into his senior year after what Herschel had done, he came on the heels of Herschel Walker. He kind of took that baton as the best running back in college football. You just felt like that Bo was going to win the Heisman.
Right.
But again, I remember hearing about Chuck Long, and I'm sitting here thinking, who is Chuck Long? We didn't see Iowa very much except for the Rose Bowl with the parade at the same time, at the same bat time, same bat channel, all this crap. I knew who Hayden Fry was. I knew he was the coach, but I'm like, who in the blue blazes is Chuck Long? I had no idea. And Iowa had not been they'd been a really good program, but not a national championship
No, they were still
contender.
coming in because, in the late 70s, even in the early 80s, they were not very great. Hayden Fry had to rebuild them because they were one of the most atrocious programs in the country.
Yeah, they were. And so I wasn't real familiar with Chuck Long, but I knew he was a good player, and they had a really good year that year. But I will say this, Brandon's listening, of course, as he'd already called in, and he wanted to know, since he did leave you those a couple years ago, all those tapes, do you need a VCR to watch them?
No, actually.
You do have one.
I do have. Well, no, I didn't have. I had to borrow one.
Oh, you borrowed it. Okay.
I had to borrow it.
Okay. I think he may have rebuilt a refurbished one. Is why he was asking.
I had to borrow it, and I had plenty of those red, white cables in the house.
Oh, the
cables that you had to have it plugged in.
Yeah, I remember those.
And managed to partake in watching those Iowa DVDs, and it was nostalgic.
Yeah.
Very nostalgic, because a lot of it I remember. I mean, a lot of it it's been
And don't
ingrained
forget,
in my head.
no, it was even older. It was VHS, not DVDs. These were VHS tapes. Yeah, these are VHS tapes Brandon found.
Man. Remember having to go through back in the day, and I remember the first time that the VCR had a clogged head.
Oh, and then they eat the tapes. I remember all that.
It doesn't play, and it's got all the little. Looks like everything's all scrambled.
Yeah, all pixelated.
Yeah, and see, Bailey doesn't have to. Bailey probably has no idea what
he
we're talking
about. He doesn't know what
about.
the hell we're talking about.
When we're talking about clogged heads.
I still have.
I'm old enough for VHSs. I still own some.
Well,
you have a VCR in your house?
Not in my house, but I still own VHS tapes.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, and I still have a rewinder. Be kind, please rewind. You remember all that crap from Blockbuster? Be kind, please rewind. When you return it, please have the tape rewound.
I remember as a kid and having clogged heads in the VCR, and then be like, you'd have to go and get the VCR repair guy or whatever. You'd have to take it into the shop, and they'd have to unclog it.
Oh.
And then I remember someone told me, you don't need that. All you need to do is go get the right alcohol, the isopropyl alcohol or whatever, with a Q-tip, and you can actually clean the heads of your own VCR for like nothing. I mean, you can do it in 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, great. And it's easy. I mean, just all I had to do was go in there and clean the head, and good. I always hated VCR. I mean, because it was the four-head VCR, and it was all the new technology, but you don't want to rewind it too much, because then it's just like a cassette tape, because it loses its...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When you'd hear the dreaded...
Oh, you're in
trouble. You're in trouble, bro.
How many Alabama games did you record
Oh,
back in the day?
God. And see, the funny thing is, when we were moving, I had at one time, I had a box with every 1992 game. You know what I'm saying?
You recorded every 92 game?
Yeah. And there was only one that wasn't on pay-per-view or any kind of television. And it was a torrential downpour in Legion Field against Louisiana Tech. It was the first game back from suspension for David Palmer. He brought back a punt to help seal the game. 17-0, Alabama won that game, but it was ugly. No question about it. And Alabama put it away late, and the Deuce returned a punt for a touchdown. And I also remember, too, the great Willie Rofe, Hall of Famer, was the left tackle for Louisiana Tech. And it was just an ugly game, but Alabama won that game in a torrential downpour, and Deuce helped put it away. But it was ugly, and I saw that game with my dad. We went to see it. And then all the other games were either on pay-per-view or national television. And so I had every individual game, and somehow, within the move or whatever, I haven't been able to find all those tapes. So, and we just talked about it. It's not like VHS tapes are built to last. Not even sure they would still be playable. So again, that's one of those things where from that era, it's difficult to keep games and stuff like that, because again, I did for many years in the 90s, Scott. I had shoe boxes with just every freaking game taped. I mean, these drugstores used to love me, man. I would walk in there on a Friday night and grab my 3-pack of VHS tapes for the first month of the season, plop down and spend $10 on VHS tapes to set up for recordings, because there was no DVRs back then. You had to freaking record stuff. So even with my time with the Huntsville Flight, that was one of my jobs that Bob Thornton gave me. Hey Drew, I need you to record these games, because remember, they had a TV contract for the D League back in those days, and so there was games on television. He would want me to record them. And so they would give me tapes to record. Even in the early 2000s, VHS tapes were still a thing.
All right, let's get that final break. Not final break in, but let's get a break in, because when we come back, we do got to talk some Georgia football. They are celebrating a national championship over there in Georgia, but what does the future look like for this coming year? Can they three-peat? I know, we got to ask the question. We'll return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Overall, a really nice afternoon across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. It'll be just a touch on the breezy end of the spectrum, but we can deal with that. Partly sunny sky, temperatures climbing into the mid-60s, dropping into the mid-upper 30s as we head into the overnight. More cloud cover as we head into your Friday. We're going to start the day with a fair amount of sunshine. It's also going to be much cooler on Friday. Temperatures only climbing into the low and mid-50s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is an Alabama legacy moment.
Former basketball player and Hall of Famer Charles Barkley is one of Alabama's most recognizable sports stars. Nicknamed the Round Mound of Rebound and Sir Charles, the Leeds native had a remarkable basketball career with the Auburn University Tigers before embarking on a career in the NBA. Barkley also played for the U.S. Olympic basketball team in the 1992 and 1996 Summer Games. Since his retirement in 2000, Barkley has carved out a niche as a basketball analyst, author, and commentator on political and social issues. Since 2001, Auburn University, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Phoenix Suns have retired Barkley's number 34 jersey. In 2006, Barkley was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Sponsored by the Alabama Bicentennial Commission, the ABA, and this station.
1 in 3 adults in America have pre-diabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mom my. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg.
This is Mike Greenberg. Be sure and download the app today. Just search for 97.7 ESPN and listen to my show every weekday right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Indeed, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you on a Thursday morning. Welcome back into the show. Talked Ole Miss football there in the first hour. Turn our attention to the two-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs. And if you look at Georgia right now, and you look at the sustainability that Georgia has had, obviously this past year they had Stetson Bennett coming back, and they had a lot of guys on that defensive side of the ball that were mean and nasty and physical, and they were able to ride that defense and a very good offense to a national championship. Now you look, and it's hard to believe that we'll be saying it's life after Stetson Bennett, but they do have some capable guys in the wings, hopefully, to fill that need. If you look at Georgia now and you look at Georgia the way they're built, you look at their schedule, you look at the East, I mean, not unthinkable to think that Georgia could end up right back in Atlanta for another SEC championship and a playoff berth.
Well, I mean, they're going to be number one in the country just simply because they had so many young guys. They have the vets, the 25-year-olds like Stetson Bennett, who's a legend in Athens now for the rest of his career. No doubt winning 2 national championships as Georgia quarterback. Outstanding career, 28-3 as a starter. And they're going to lose Kenny McIntosh, a favorite of mine, a guy that I think is going to have a long NFL career. They're going to lose the Jalen Carters, but they've got Nolan Smith, guys like that. But they're going to have a lot of players back. There's no question about it. They've got a lot of starters back on both sides of the football. They certainly are losing some young guys, even some redshirt sophomores, Von Prawn at the center. They're going to have to rebuild their offensive line, but Kirby's recruited very well. He stacked recruiting classes. But, again, what's going to define this Georgia team is, okay, is Todd Monken returning? There's some NFL interest there. We'll see. He had NFL interest last year, returned to Athens. Certainly helped them win, back-to-back national championships. We'll see if he's going to ply his trade. He's been in the NFL before. He's certainly not going to be a college head coach. It doesn't look like he didn't pursue or end up in the middle of any of those opportunities. So we'll see if he comes back. Glenn Schumann, the co-defensive coordinator with Will Muschamp, has been mentioned at Alabama. If you had to ask me, I would say that's probably not going to happen. I think Schumann's going to get a raise and stay at Georgia, so that'll be a boon for the Dogs. But they've got a lot of good young players, and it's just going to come down to how does the quarterback position play itself out? Because you've got three highly rated players there. Carson Beck has been the backup. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. A 4 or 5 star level kid who's been there as a backup to Stetson for a couple of years now. You've got Gunnar Stockton, a former 5-star, Brock Vandegrift. You've got a lot of good quarterbacks down there that haven't played a lot. So It's going to be interesting to see kind of how that plays out and to see if Carson Beck is truly the guy. He got into the national championship game due to the beat down that Georgia put 65-7 on TCU. Looked impressive from an arm talent standpoint. Brooks Austin tweeted out that it was going to be Carson Beck's season now. In other words, is he going to be the dude? So that's where spring practice is going to be very interesting because there's so much young talent at Georgia, along with the experience that some of those young guys had that are coming back. And another thing that you have to take into account when you're projecting someone to win a national championship is how the schedule sets up. Georgia's got a very favorable schedule, and I still think the East is weaker than the West by far. I think the East is improving, and it's also going to depend on how much better Billy Napier's Florida team is in year 2. Missouri, was better the second half of the year. Missouri, who would have thunk? If you go back and look, in the Georgia season, 15-0 national champs back-to-back, their two closest calls, one was Ohio State, we know that. The other one was Missouri, of all people.
Right.
Not even an elite team, but you'll have Mizzou in that division. How good is Tennessee? Tennessee went 11-2. We think they were one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country this year, especially with Hendon Hooker healthy. But is Tennessee going to be able to go back-to-back years? Are they going to be able to? Because now – it's different. Tennessee snuck up on a lot of people last year. I thought they were a 7-5, 8-4 team. I didn't think they were elite. I didn't think they'd be in the Orange Bowl. I didn't think they'd beat Alabama. I didn't think they were. And at one time, Scott, we've already talked about it, they controlled their own destiny to get to the playoff. All they had to do, even with the loss to Georgia and getting whacked in Athens as badly as they did, if they had just won out, if they beat South Kakalaki, I firmly believe.
They would have been. With
TCU would not have been in.
No.
TCU would have been out. To me, I think they probably would have voted Ohio State in, and it would have been Ohio State, and then it would have been Tennessee. But Tennessee lost, and they got whacked, and so now Tennessee will be hunted a little bit, and so it's going to be interesting to see. But I still think Georgia's the heavy favorite in the East, and the favorite overall in the SEC, even losing their quarterback, because right now Alabama has no idea who their quarterback is going to be. I think it's going to be Ty Simpson. Heck, Alabama doesn't even know who's going to be on their coaching staff right now.
No. Bill O'Brien will say this, though. Bill O'Brien is out recruiting for Alabama right now, even though the Patriots are doing coordinating searches for their offensive coordinator and everything else. Bill O'Brien remains on the recruiting trail for Alabama. So don't read anything into that. Don't be like, whatever. He still has a job to do, and, he still is with Alabama for the time being. I mean, if we are sitting at SEC Media Days and we are talking about Bill O'Brien being still at Alabama, are you going to be like 100% shocked?
Well, I mean, I would be, it's going to be interesting. I don't think so. I think he's going to go back to the NFL. I go back and harken back to where we at in the NFL playoffs, and really the firing season has just happened in the NFL.
Right.
And they're just now starting all this process of putting their staffs together. We talked about the Senior Bowl, what they're doing. I still think within the next 10 days you're going to see them move to the NFL.
All right. I tell you what, let's get a quick break in.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's get a quick break in, our final break.
Let's do that.
When we come back, we'll get Brooks Austin in, talk some Georgia football.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
NFL playoff season is here, and the best place to catch all of the action, all the way up until the Super Bowl, is Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Don't miss Humphrey's game day football specials: $2.75 Miller Lite, Yingling, Coors Light Pints, $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints, $4 Fireball, anytime football is on. And with live music every night, there is no better place to party downtown than Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Humphrey's, always a party, never a cover. Located online at humphreysdowntown.com.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to kickstart the new year with 0% interest. We've got financing as low as 0% APR for 36 months on 2022 and 2023 models of F-150, Explorer, Edge, and Escape. Plus, there's an extra $1,000 bonus cash on F-150 XLT. Come on in to Woody Anderson Ford today and choose from over 100 F-150s and nearly 50 Explorers. I bet you can find exactly what you're looking for. And we've also got longer-term financing as low as 4.9% for up to 72 months. It's available on 2022 F-150, Explorer, Edge, Escape, and Mustang. With your good credit, these offers are through Ford Motor Credit. Offers end January 31st. At Woody Anderson Ford, we'd be glad to walk you through the online ordering, too. Plus, you'll get $1,000 bonus cash. Come see us and let's get 2023 off to a great start. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortandSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, and we kind of blended a little bit of Georgia, Alabama in there, and the Georgia Bulldogs coming in. They coming into this season, there were not a lot of unknowns with the Georgia Bulldog football program. You kind of knew where a lot of things stood. Now, this year, there are some unknowns. Because I should say not a lot of unknown. Dan Lanning did leave to go to Oregon. We had a couple things here and there, but now you got a new quarterback. You got a different quarterback than what we've had the last couple years. Some different faces in some new places. But you look at Georgia's schedule, as we said before, you got to like where Georgia's at again going into another year.
Yeah, no doubt. They are in the strongest position. They're the best program in the country. No doubt about that. They are set up with a outstanding chance to win it all again and three-peat, which has not been done since, we talked about the Minnesota Golden Gophers in the 1930s. You're talking about something that Alabama's nearly pulled it off a couple times, but it's never been done. So that's the kind of historic, thing as far as iconic. I guess if you want to talk about hunting again next year for Georgia, that's what they're going to be. That's going to be the goal probably for this team internally. Now, they probably won't talk about it externally. They're going to talk about just each season being a one of its own and trying to take it one game at a time. But they have a chance to do something that hasn't been done in the modern era of college football. And who better than to talk about that with than our next guest? We appreciate his patience in coming on with us. He does a great job for Dogs Daily Fan Nation. That's for Sports Illustrated. And that is Brooks Austin, who is with us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. What's up, Brooks? How are you?
Hey, Pete. I've just been dodging you for the whole week. Feels like, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm glad you were able to get on with us. You were there, certainly in L.A. to see this Georgia beatdown. Probably the biggest beatdown, even bigger. The only other one I could kind of equate it to, Alabama and Notre Dame in 12 was a beatdown, and so was Oklahoma in 2004. In 03, and they beat down Southern Cal beat down Oklahoma. But this was probably even worse. This game was almost like watching a Georgia first or second week game in the regular season, where you guys who are covering this team could pretty much relax by the middle of the first quarter.
Dude, I'll tell you what, Drew. When I watched it, I was like, okay, they're like 17 points better.
Yeah.
And then when I talked to coaches after the game, they were like, we felt like we were like 21 points better.
Yeah.
They beat them Jokers by 59, I think it was, or 56, or how many points it was. They beat them like a steel drum. And the guys that I talked to, again, they knew that they were a better football team. They knew they were more talented. They thought they had some schematical advantages that they could attack. I don't think in a million years they could have thought that they would have come out and executed like that. They played a flawless football game for the first time since, I would say, Oregon. Oregon, they came out and scored on their first 7 possessions. They didn't punt until midway through the fourth quarter, and they really only punted because I think Kirby kind of felt bad for Dan Lanning at that point in the football game. So, that was the first time they played perfect since week 1, and the rest of it was kind of imperfect football. They turned the ball over. There was a stretch in the middle of the season where over 4 games they turned the ball over 9 times.
Mm-hmm.
And they remained undefeated. So they got past these things. They survived slow starts where they had 2 turnovers in their own against Missouri, and where Missouri comes out and punches them in the mouth. They did, and this is what I love about the current level of college football. I have a little bit of disdain for any expansion talk, and I know it's coming. It's already here, but you have to be perfect in college football nowadays, or you used to. Now you won't. Now you can have 2 or 3 losses maybe and end up in the playoff. And if you're hot, you're hot. And you're the hottest team in college football. That means you're the best.
Yeah.
But Georgia was not just the hottest team in college football this year. Georgia was the only perfect team in college football. From top to bottom, they played flawless football and survived the days in which they did not. That is the beauty of this sport, and it is gone.
Yeah, that is true. And how much of that national championship game, and I look at Georgia, and I know they were a little bit faster and bigger than TCU.
Oh, yeah.
But how much of that game was Georgia just executing so perfectly that it didn't matter if who was in there, who they were lining up against, they didn't stand a chance, because that's just the level that Georgia was playing on that night.
Yeah, Georgia plays at that level offensively and defensively. There's not a team in the sport this year that probably could have stayed within 21 points of them, except for maybe Ohio State. And maybe, I don't even think USC could do it because they didn't have the guys surrounding Caleb. I mean, Caleb's great, but the only way I think you're going to beat Georgia, at least the way they've been constituted the last 2 years and moving into next year, is you better have an elite wide receiver that can win at any point and any time. And you better have a quarterback that can buy enough time and extend enough time with his legs to throw that person the football. If you're one of these quarterbacks that's just got great legs, the kid from Auburn, number 9, he's got great legs.
Robbie Ashford.
They ran that joker out. They ran Robbie Ashford out of the pocket for 4 quarters on purpose because they knew he couldn't throw on the run. So they just ran that joker into the sideline, and he chunked it into the sideline probably 14 times that football game. So if you're going to beat Georgia, you better have someone as good or better than C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, or Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's taken the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's right. You got to have elite quarterback and wide receiver play. There's no doubt. Well, that's kind of a segue because I remember you tweeting out during the game, Carson Beck's season. Is he the favorite? Because this is still a pretty stacked quarterback room when you're talking about Vandegrift's pedigree. You're talking about Gunnar Stockton. I mean, where does it stand? Is Beck the favorite?
Dude, I thought Beck was the favorite to start when J.T. Daniels' oblique injury happened against Clemson. And they just went with Stetson Bennett because he was the safest, and they felt comfortable and all that previous Kirby Smart game management type stuff when it comes to the quarterback discussion. And then Stetson Bennett comes back for a 6th year, throws for 4,000 yards, and now everyone's thinking that Carson Beck might be a potential Heisman guy.
Wow.
Here's the deal. I buy into everything that is physically capable of Carson Beck. That dude is 1%. I mean, he is 6'5", 230 pounds. If I were to teach a kid how to throw a football, we would show him Carson Beck's footage. It is flawless. It is efficient. It is everything you want it to be. It is NFL scouts saw him throw to George Pickens at Pro Day and immediately put him on the board. Did not even need to see game tape. They saw it come out of his hand one time, and they were like, we are going to scout him. So that's how this dude throws the football. Who he is as a football player, I knew who he was as a junior when he had good talent around him in high school. He was the first person to ever say top commander in high school. If you know anything about Florida football, people don't win out of Jacksonville. That's not what folks do. There's not a lot of winning down there in high school football for a lot of variety of reasons. He won as a junior. Lost 9 of 11 starters on offense, him being one of the 2 that returned. They didn't do so well his senior year. I know the kid was a baller at 17. I don't know what he is now at almost 22 years old. This will be his 4th year in college coming up. Or not 4th, no, excuse me, 21. I don't know who he is. But
we got you, Brooks. I think he hit a bad. We got you. There we go. It was just a bad sell.
There we go.
Yeah, finish your thought on Carson.
No, I was just saying, I think he's the most gifted of the throwers that they have. And when it comes to being able to operate the offense, I know he has 100% digested what it is that Monken wants that team to do. And the other thing about Kirby Smart, man, is that year over year, time after time, he is always going to favor the old guy. I mean, the seniority matters. Amir Speed started over Keely Ringo. Shit, Julian Rochester started over Jalen Carter. Can you believe that? For a long time, that happened. Malik Herring started over Trayvon Walker here at the University of Georgia for 2 full seasons. Like, the older player typically gets the chance to lose the job, and I don't think Carson Beck's going to do anything to lose.
Well, we heard Todd Monken's name possibly floating in the NFL. Is there any? Is that just?
Do you think he's coming back?
Throwing out there.
I mean, here's the deal, guys. Like, I think there are 12 offensive coordinating jobs in America that are better than the University of Georgia, and there are the 12 to 15 jobs in the NFL that have solid quarterback play. Okay. Quarterback play that you're confident in, right?
Right.
I mean, he makes as much money as anybody in the NFL currently. He's in a position where he doesn't really have to recruit. I mean, the only 2 players he's seen this entire spring and summer were Ryan Puglisi and Dylan Raiola. He doesn't need to see anything else. He just kind of finishes the job with everybody else. But, I mean, he has an incredibly easy job. He has one of the best jobs in America, and unless one of them jobs the Chargers job is very, very scary for Georgia because that's a one-of-one quarterback, Justin Herbert, that is now on the market and needs an offensive coordinator. Does Todd Monken want to go be an NFL coordinator again? I don't know. But the other thing is, hey, he's got a history with the ownership in Tampa. What happens if they fire Todd Bowles? These are things that are discussions we don't have the answer to, which is why some of these coordinating jobs aren't settled until mid-February.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We've been talking about Alabama in that regard too, with Bill O'Brien and the merry-go-round that is the NFL. And then defensively, there's been talk of Glenn Schumann connected to Alabama. There always will be, but I still, my gut tells me he's going to stay at Georgia. What are you hearing?
That was kind of the vibe Saturday morning when I was at the parade.
Right.
The number one thing I hear about Schumann is loyalty.
Yes.
He's just so, I mean, he's the most loyal human being in the world. I've also heard people tell me that he's much more self-conscious than others, in the sense that maybe he knows he's not a head coach. Maybe he knows
he's comfortable in his skin.
Maybe he knows that
getting there,
he's just the best defensive coordinator the sport has to offer. And that's powerful. You know what I mean? Like that might be the reason he does stick around. Whereas like Dan Lanning, you could tell from Jump Street, that guy wanted to be a head coach one day. I don't know if that's Schumann, but here's the deal. If he gets offered a bunch of money, then they got to give him money. And they not only have to give him money, they got to turn around and give Will Muschamp money too because of the co-DC titles. Unless Muschamp, in his seniority, says, you know what, dude, I've had a buyout from Florida. I've had a buyout from South Carolina. Let the young man make his money. I'm good with making $800,000. Woe is me.
Yeah, no question. No doubt. And I guess the biggest storyline will be that quarterback battle in the spring. But this Georgia defense, I know they're losing Jalen Carter, but it looks like they're going to reload on that side of the ball, though.
Yeah, my biggest concern would be who replaces Chris Smith. I know Malachi Starks next year will be probably the best safety in college football as a sophomore. But who's going to play next to him? Is it going to be David Daniel, or are they going to have to move Tyke Smith back there to play safety? Will the freshman Jonel Aguero push for playing time? Things like that. Does Dan Jackson have another year of eligibility? Will they let him come back? These are questions that, like, I don't really have the answer to, and I don't think we will have the answer to until mid-spring.
Well, great stuff, Brooks. No doubt, man. Thanks for joining us, and let everybody know how to connect with you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at BrooksAustinSI. I appreciate you guys, Drew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brooke. That's going to do it for the 2 hours of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Make sure you head to your app store, Marketplace, download that 97.7 ESPN The Zone app so you can have the power of us in the palm of your hands. Coming up on Saturday, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to take advantage of that app. Over the airways, you'll have UAH Women at 2, the UAH Men on 97.7 ESPN The Zone 2 at 4. Alabama basketball on Saturday. We've got a special show from Kia on Saturday from 10 to 12. So make sure you download that app today so you can have the power of 97.7 ESPN The Zone in the palm of your hands.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle